Hi, so I decided to talk about natural resources, or of course it's natural resources, but natural gas within the natural resource. So, what is natural gas? Natural gas is, of course, it's a fossil fuel, and fossil fuels are um, plants and animals that existed millions of years ago that were compressed into sand, soil, and other sediments, and it took so much pressure that they turned into like gas pockets in the Earth's surface. So that is how, of course, we find like the natural gas. Um, there are a couple types of natural gas. I only talked about two because they're the two like main kinds, but there are like so much more. And I got these from National Geographic. So there's non-conventional natural gas and conventional natural gas. So conventional natural gas is easy and accessible to find. So that means they can locate it easily and then it's easy for them to extract it. Whereas non-conventional, it is hard to locate and it's hard to extract. So they have to come up with like new technologies and many different things in order to extract this type of natural gas. Um, as far as to what like natural gas is actually composed of, it's what we mainly use is methane, but there's a couple other like substances like that go with it, but it's one carbon atom and four hydrogen atoms, and that comes from the U.S. Information Administration. So, what is natural gas used for? So, natural gas is basically used for anything that we need to heat or electricity. So, the Energy Information Administration says that natural gas is used for generating electricity and heating buildings. So, we talked about this in my interview, um, and I did it, and he said that the natural gas is used in everyday lives. It's used for heating houses, cooking, vehicles, like all of everyday appliances that we need for. But I will show you the interview at the very end of this. I also did some more like research about it because I did not really know a lot about natural gas. So, according to King, one half of the homes in the United States are supplied by natural gas, and that is kind of a lot because there are a lot of people here, and for natural gas to be supplying that much, that's kind of incredible. And then in 2013, about 14% of natural gas consumed in the United States went to commercial buildings. So it's big buildings. They use them for like heating and air conditioning. So natural gas is used for a lot of things and it's kind of like incredible for all the stuff that it can do. So where does natural gas come from? Natural gas is found in the Earth's surface, how we just talked about. Um, since it's compacted with other organisms from millions and years ago, um, it's always like next to like oil deposits. However, the deeper you go and the more pressure there is, it's will mainly consist of just pure natural gas. So if it's really deep and there's a lot of pressure where that is, mainly it's going to be all natural gas. And I got that from National Geographic as well. Um, However, this is not the only type of natural gas that's found in the ground. Um, there can be found in like landfills too because the decomposition process, um, it uh, uh, produces or puts off like methane, and methane is basically what natural gas is, and it goes through like this process, and it was kind of confusing, but I didn't really go into a lot because that's not the topic or subject that I was focusing on. I was more focusing on like extracting like natural gas from the ground. Um, and that's just because as of now, there's not enough like research or technology done to capture the gas that's produced from landfills so it escapes into the atmosphere the most of the time. So, how do they how do they get natural gas out of the ground? Um, so the first thing that they have to do, we also talked about this in my interview, and he says that geologists are the ones who find the gas pockets. So the first step is to get it out of the ground is to locate where the natural gas is. And like I said before, geologists are the ones who do that. They look at the rocks that are more likely to contain the natural gas, and then they do these, I don't know how to say that word, it's like systematic something surveys, and it's using echoes and vibrations to detect where natural gas is located. Now this equipment can be found like under trucks, and it can even be simple as like explosives to use the vibrations and such. Um, if the site looks like it's like gonna be good for finding like natural gas and oil and stuff, then they do exploratory wells. Um, uh, my interviewer or interviewee talked about more of this in his interview, and once again, I will play that at the end so we can get some more information about it. But once the sites looks good, they do an exploratory well, and then if that comes out like positive, then they put actual wells and they produce it into the ground, and then the well drills into the rock, and then water chemicals and other like sand is like pressured into there like really fast, so it releases the natural gas and the gas flows back up the well. So that's kind of how that works, and I got all that information from the US Energy Information Administration as well. So the transportation of natural gas, um when they first like pump it out, it's considered wet natural gas because it's in a liquid form, and once they get it up the pipeline, they extract like methane and other useful gases from it, and then they transport it in through the pipelines, and that's it either goes to like companies or houses, and it gets distributed however this needs to happen. Um, when they do the extraction process, this all happens near the site of either, so it either happens at the well or by the well that they extracted the natural gas from. Um, so for some of the environmental impacts, natural gas is one of the best fossil fuels because it doesn't release as much greenhouse gases into the atmosphere as we can. So on that aspect, it's like really good, and it's the one we should use the most. Um, and then during the interview, I also asked like what environmental impacts was on it, and they said, and he talked about um fracking and how it's intentionally putting a hole in the ground, but the oil field does a pretty good job of like cleaning up after themselves and cleaning up the mess. So on that, it's not doesn't really like is not really hard on the environment in that aspect. However, the problem is like when they do release water into the ground, it contains so much chemicals that it can be like absorbed in like the drinking water, and sometimes it can't be like purified out, as well as it can cause earthquakes because of all the high pressure water going into it, and then they don't really can do anything after that. So they said that once they are worried about earthquakes. Um, so here's where we're going to watch the interview. Um, my overall, oh man, sorry, I don't know how to do this. Um, the overall thoughts like about this all was fossil fuels, they can oh my gosh, is having technical difficulties. But as I was saying, like natural gas is one of the best fossil fuels, but it's not going to be around here forever. So I still do think we need to find like substitution for it and ways to replace it or like reduce the amount that we use. But here is the interview, so we will watch this. Okay, sorry, I will just post the link because that video was not loading at all and I don't want it to take forever, so I'll just send you the interview as well. Um, but as I was saying before, like since natural gas is a fossil fuel, we can't keep using it like we are now. We have to find a way to like use it less so we have more of it and we aren't worried about in 50 years not being able to like heat our houses because we don't have enough natural gas or so on so forth. But that was what I came up with for natural gas. Thank you for listening.